Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Dennis Brown, and today I want to ask you a question. Are you afraid of cold calling? Well, the good news is I'm going to share with you 7 tips how to overcome your fear of cold calling. That's the topic of today's training. And again, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Dennis Brown. I'm the host of the Freight Broker Bootcamp Live, which we do every Monday at noon. I've been an entrepreneur for over 27 years, been very, very blessed. During that time, I started, launched, grew a brokerage, did over $200 million in sales. And I'm also the owner of Freight Broker Bootcamp, uh, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program available today. Trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. So if you're curious about getting trained, learning how to become a freight broker, learning how to become a freight agent, check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. And again, today, I'm going to share with you, if you are the kind of person who is afraid or has fear or concern or apprehension or keeps putting it off, the whole cold calling and doing customer outreach, you want to lean in on this training, because today I'm going to share with you, again, 7 tips on how to overcome your fear of cold calling. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So as we're getting live here, hit me up in the comments. Let me know the city and state you're logging in from. I'm in Buffalo, New York area. Wherever you're at, hit me up. I'll try to do a few shout outs. Here is the agenda for today. We're going to do the training. And then after the training, we're going to do a brief giveaway. Maybe we'll give away a Freightpreneur t-shirt. Maybe we'll give away some cash, depends on the time. And then we're going to go into live Q&A at the end. So if you stick around to the end, you can ask any questions about this training. You can ask any questions about starting or becoming or growing a freight brokerage or freight agency. And I will absolutely do my best to try to answer those questions for you. And so, yeah, that's the agenda. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know where you guys are logging in from. I'll try to give you a shout out. We have Surge 1999 SM from Apache Junction, Arizona. Eric from Santa Clarita, California. Shonda from Canton, Texas. Ozan from Lincoln, Nebraska. Zoran from Macedonia. Welcome, Zoran. Kiara, what time is it there, Zoran? Kiara from Atlanta, Georgia. Coco from Charleston, South Carolina. Lado from Key West, Florida. Costly Profit from Costly, Florida. Victor Ward from College Station, Texas. Joe Mighty from Fort Lauderdale. John Sandoval, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Novelty Logistics from Toronto. Anita from Champaign, Illinois. Michael 46 from Kissimmee, Florida. We got people from all over the place. I'm excited that you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, while you're doing this, make sure you hit the like button. Hit the like button right now and make sure that you smash that like button. The secret to getting me to come back see, I do these trainings every Monday at noon. I've been doing them for years. And I will tell you, sometimes it gets a little stale. Sometimes I have a hard time coming up with ideas. But if you like, comment, and share this stream, those types of engagements and that type of feedback, because it's kind of one way here, is exactly what I need to make sure I come back every Monday at noon. Do my absolute best to try to share tips and strategies and to answer your questions, with the objective is to help you launch and start a successful freight brokerage or freight agency. Okay. So with that in mind, hit the like button and we're going to get started in just a minute. Hold tight. For those of you that are joining me a little bit late, that's okay. No worries. If you're catching this on replay, hit me in the comments with #replay, no matter where you're watching this, YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever you're at. We're streaming it on all 3 of those locations. And just let me know where you're at. And today, the agenda, again, we're going to do the training, and that is, are you afraid of cold calling? I'm going to share with you 7 tips to overcome your fear of cold calling. Then we're going to do a giveaway, and then we are going to do live Q&A at the end. Okay, so I'm excited. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we've got lots of people logging in. If I don't give you a shout out today, I apologize. Maybe we'll be able to catch you next week on the next training. But I know you guys are eager to get started, and I don't want to delay or waste any more time. So with that in mind, let me shut this beeping off so I stop hearing all these crazy beeps. All right, cool. So I got a lot of notes to go over. Here's my notes for today's training, okay? I'm prepared. Are you prepared? All right, are you guys ready? All right, so today I'm going to share with you, well, let me start that over. Today, let me ask you a question. Are you afraid of cold calling? Do you struggle with cold calling? Do you procrastinate doing customer and prospect outreach? If the answer is yes, I'm going to share with you 7 tips on how to overcome your fear of cold calling. That's what we're going to talk about today. And again, I've got a whole list of things I want to go over today, and there's no time like the present. Let's jump right in. All right. Number 1 on the list is probably a tip you have never, ever heard before. So lean in. All right. So the tip is using my 5 call per day rule. Okay. My 5 call per day strategy. Now here's how it works. Let me set the plate. One of the biggest challenges with getting yourself to make cold calls and getting past the fear and the procrastination is the fact that you think about cold calling as, oh, I got to make 100 calls today. I got to make 150 calls today. I got to make 200 calls today. I want you to get that out of your head. Take that completely out of your head right now. Because number 1, if you're doing it right, you don't need to make that number of calls. And number 2, that's not the goal today. If this is your first day of cold calling, or you're just trying to reignite that fire in cold calling, here's what I would suggest. Rather than thinking about 100 or 200 cold calls, what I want you to do today is very simple. I want you to do 5 cold calls today. That's it. That's all you have to do today. That's your entire job today. 5 cold calls. Now, the hardest part about cold calling is getting started, making that first call. All right. And I get it. I understand. There's a really good quote that I heard years ago. It says, fear thrives in the place of inaction. Overcome your anxiety by taking one small step forward. I think that's Sarah Boyd. And so, yeah, one small step forward. All right. So that's all you got to do. So today, your goal is to make 5 cold calls, day 1. And guess what? Day 2, guess how many calls you're going to make? You're going to make an additional 5. So rather than 5, you're going to make 10. And every day you're going to add just 5 cold calls a day. So day 1, you'll be doing 5, and then you'll be doing 10, and then you'll be doing 15, and then you'll be doing 20 and 25 and so on and so forth. And after 10 days, you'll be doing 50 cold calls a day. All right. And the objective here is to take bite-sized pieces. We've all heard that analogy before, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so that's how I look at cold calling for people that are afraid and have fear and procrastinate on cold calling, because they're looking at that whole elephant when in reality, they just need to take one small bite and start developing that confidence, start developing that habit. So number 1 on the list to overcoming your fear of cold calling is to use my 5 call a day strategy. All right. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to learn to celebrate the no's. Okay, Dennis, what are you, crazy? No one likes to hear no. Well, I get it. We've been conditioned from the time we were children that no was a negative response. Hey, no, don't touch that. Hey, no, don't go in there. Hey, no, don't say that, right? From the time we were born, we've been hearing no, 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 no. So we get conditioned that no is a negative. What you need to do is you need to reframe that. You need to understand and embrace the fact that no is a part of the game. You have to surrender to the fact that no is a part of sales. No, hearing no is a part of success. And so there's a great book I would highly recommend. I can't dive into a deep training on it right now, but there's a great book. It's called Go for No. Go on Amazon, check it out. It's a great book. It will help you to reframe your entire paradigm as it relates to hearing the word no or hearing the word yes. What you want to do is you want to embrace the no's and understand that every no that you get brings you a little bit closer to that yes. And that yes can lead to literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue and profit for your business, especially in the freight brokerage setting, right? So yeah, number 2 is I want you to celebrate the no's. I want you to grab that book, Go for No. I didn't write it. It's a very popular book. If you haven't read it yet, I think it will help you switch your mindset around hearing no. That's number 2. Number 3, educate yourself. I'm not talking about high school or college or online, education of some sort. What I'm talking about is educate yourself about your niche, the industry that you're pursuing, the niche that you're focused on. Educate yourself about the company that you're about to make a phone call with. Educate yourself about the prospect, the shipping manager, the warehouse manager, the logistics manager that you're about to have a conversation with. What I have found is the more educated you are about your prospect, about your niche, and about the company that you're going to call, the less apprehension, the less nervous, the less fear you'll have because you are more prepared, right? The more prepared you are, the more confident you are, right? The more prepared you are, the more competent you are, which leads to confidence. And that's what this is all about. We're trying to build your competence, right? And your confidence. So ultimately, educating yourself about the prospect, gather some sales intelligence. Make sure you've done your research about the niche and the industries you're going after. Make sure you've done some research about the company itself, gathered some sales intelligence in advance. Make sure you've went on LinkedIn and looked up the shipping manager or the traffic manager or the warehouse manager, and you'll understand a little bit of their background. That will prepare you to have a real conversation, and that will help ease your nerves and some of your fear, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4, it's what I'm doing right now. I am standing up versus sitting down. I have been telling people this tip for decades. It is so simple. All you have to do is stand up. Here's why. Because motion creates emotion. Motion and standing up will build your confidence. It'll build your confidence in a lot of ways. 1, you're going to breathe better. 2, you feel more powerful. You feel more stronger. You feel more confident. So it's a very simple thing, but rather than sitting down at your desk and kind of mealy mouthing it and talking like this and having your head down and buried in your cubicle, stand up. Are you crazy? Stand up and sell. I would highly recommend standing up and selling 100% of the time, but particularly for those that are struggling with confidence and are afraid to make these calls, right? And a lot of times you're afraid to make the calls. And even when you do, you're kind of hiding down in your desk because you don't want anybody to hear you or see you. You're crazy. Stand up. It's a very simple tip. All right. So that's number 4. Number 5, use a script. All right. Have a script prepared. But the caveat here is you cannot sound like you're reading from a script. So that takes practice. So you can have a script, you can have a little bit of a dialogue written out on a piece of paper or typed out on a piece of paper that you have practiced and prepared for, but you cannot sound like you're reading. If I'm here and I'm saying, fear thrives in the place of inaction, overcome your anxiety by taking one step forward, you're going to know I'm reading. Okay. It has to flow. You have to flow. That flow requires a little bit of practice, a little bit of preparation. Okay. So you can use a script. That's okay. That will be a little bit of a crutch for you to get started, because ad-libbing or trying to think off the cuff on exactly what to say without being prepared is scary as hell for me and for anybody. Okay. All right. So that's number 5. Number 6, role play with a friend. This goes hand in hand with number 5, role playing with a friend, role playing that cold call script, role playing how to overcome objections. Those are 2, role playing how to answer questions and ask questions. Those are all very important strategies. That is an incredibly powerful strategy, because what it will do is it will take your fear and it will turn it into competence, which will convert into confidence. Because we want to go from fear to confident, right? But it's a staged approach. You can't go from here to here. It's too big of a leap. So you got to go from fear to competence to confidence. And doing role playing with somebody that you know, your wife, or your spouse, or your brother, or a coworker, or a friend, or someone else that's in the Freight Broker Bootcamp program, right? Anybody that you can do role playing with, where you practice your cold call, practice overcoming your objections, practice asking and answering good questions, is an incredibly powerful tool to build that confidence. All right. That was number 6. And number 7, find an accountability partner. All right. So an accountability partner is when you and I agree that we're going to work together and keep each other accountable. That's a part of what we do with Freight Broker Bootcamp, right? So we are keeping you accountable to going through the training and implementing those pieces. But if you find an accountability partner, what's going to happen is that is going to create leverage. You will probably do more to not disappoint and let your accountability partner down about making those 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 calls in a day than you will yourself. So that leverage creates momentum, and that momentum creates competence, and that competence creates confidence, right? Do you see the process? Do you see how it flows? All right, so let me run through those 7 again. Use my 5 cold call a day strategy, my method. You celebrate the no's. Don't worry about, don't worry about hearing yes on every call. Celebrate the no's and make sure you get that go for no book. Number 3, educate yourself. Make sure you educate yourself about the industry, the company, and the prospect you're dealing with. Stand up versus sitting down. That's number 4. I can't stress that enough. It's so simple. It's one of the easiest things you can do to build your confidence and get over the fear. Number 5, use a script, but make sure you don't sound like you're reading. Number 6, role play with a friend. And number 7 is find an accountability partner. Okay, so those are my top 7. But listen, before you go, if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, I can't stress it enough. I know you're struggling to find all the answers on YouTube and you're struggling to find all the answers using Google. Let me help you. We have an entire program. I'll take you from A to Z. It's called freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. We've had over 10,000 students in the last decade go through the program. Many of them have went on to build 6 and 7 and even 8-figure businesses after graduating from our program. So I highly suggest you check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. No matter where you're at, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Facebook channel. Make sure we connect on LinkedIn. Truly appreciate you guys being here. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Hope you enjoyed the tips. Have an awesome day. And we'll be here for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live every Monday at noon. All right, so everybody that's still here, hang tight. Hold on. We're not done. All right, that was the training component. Now we're going to get into the second part, which is a giveaway. Let me check the time. Yeah, I think we got enough time for a giveaway, at least one giveaway. And then we're going to go into live Q&A, but you got to stick around. I don't want you to type your questions in the comment box now. Hold your questions until I'm ready, because if you don't, they're going to get lost. They're going to get lost in the feed. I'll tell you when to submit your questions. Sometimes you guys jump the gun a little bit early. Let me know right now. Tell me what you guys think. I'm probably going to get some mixed reviews here. Which of those 7 tips that I gave you do you think is most relevant to you and that you think will help you the most? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know which of those 7 tips that I shared with you today you think will help you the most. Using the 5 call a day method and building up your confidence, celebrating the no's, educating yourself first, standing up versus sitting down, using a script but making sure you don't sound like you're reading, role playing with a friend, and or finding an accountability partner. Which one do you think will help you get past your fears the fastest, the best? Okay, which one resonates with you? Some of these are super simple, right? Some of these are a little bit harder, but you know what? Do it. Trust me, just do it, right? It's like Nike says, just do it. All right, so in about a minute here, we're going to jump in. Let's do the giveaway, all right? All right, I'm getting the feedback. Okay, so accountability partner. Standing up, Alan says. Standing up, Fat Mike says. Papa Bear in a chair. Yeah, the 5 call a day method is a game changer. I probably will do an entire training on that strategy alone, okay? The 5 call a day method is an incredibly powerful strategy for people that have fear and aversion to cold calling, okay? 5 calls on Monday, 10 calls on Tuesday, 15 calls on Wednesday, but all you have to worry about today is 5 calls. And those 5 calls start with what? The first phone call. Make the first phone call. I don't care what happens during those 5 calls. Do your absolute best. But the fact is, we're going to build that momentum. Remember, it's that old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that 5 call that 5 call a day method really stresses that. So it will work really well for new people in the industry or people that are struggling and procrastinating to pick up the phone. Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. Standing up. A lot of people like the standing up. Educate yourself. Role playing. Educate yourself. Accountability partner. Dion says. Misa says accountability partner. Malik says accountability partner. Cynthia says all of them. Start standing up, celebrate the nose, 5 calls a day. Good. All right. So there's different people. See, here's the cool part. This is the reason why I did 7 tips, because everybody comes from has a different journey. And so what's holding you back may be slightly different that's holding someone else back. And so the approach has to be slightly different. It's not a one size fits all. Here's all I care about. Pick one of those things. Pick one of those 7 that I shared with you today and put it to work. I don't want you to try to do all 7. I want you to pick one and put it to work the next time you start making cold calls or the next time you start procrastinating on making phone calls. All right. Use that tip, use one of those tips, and I promise you'll go further faster. All right. Awesome. So let's do the free giveaway. Free giveaway. Who wants a Freightpreneur t-shirt? Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. All right. If you want a free t-shirt, here's what I want you to do. It's all about YouTube. Okay. It's all about YouTube. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to subscribe on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. The channel is called freightbrokerbootcamp.com, but you can find it at youtube.com/freightbrokers. That's the short. I couldn't get Freight Broker Bootcamp because they won't allow that long of a URL. But yeah, go to youtube.com/freightbrokers. If you're already on there, here's all you got to do for a chance to win the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the all notification bell. You got to do both. Click the subscribe button and the all notification bell, and then come back into the feed here, into the comments, and let me know you subscribed and click the all notification bell on YouTube. You got to say all that. Subscribed and click the all notification bell on YouTube. Do not come back in and say done. Do not come back in and say subscribe. Do not come back in and saying anything but I subscribed on YouTube and I clicked the all notification bell. If you say that and you let me know that, that's going to enter you as a possible contestant to win the Freightpreneur t-shirt. All right. Now you have to be in the United States in order to collect the prize because I don't ship this thing overseas. Sometimes we do other giveaways for people that are around the globe. I apologize for that right now, but ultimately I just can't get my arms around spending $50 to ship a shirt that's worth $25. Okay. So yeah. So make sure you subscribe, click the all notification bell, come back in the comments, and I'm going to randomly pick one person. Okay. I'm going to randomly pick one person. Now, if you just say subscribed or you just say the check marks or you just whatever or done, I can't pick you because you got to understand there's going to be dozens and dozens of people that are going to do this. And when I scroll up through, I got to know exactly what your comment means because I got to be fair to everybody. Okay. So just like Shonda says, I subscribed on YouTube, click the all notification bell. Very simple. Devin says, subscribed on YouTube, click the all notification bell. Now this is an honor system, so I can't verify it right this second before I pick the prize, but at the end, don't be surprised. If you win, don't be surprised if I ask you for proof that you've actually subscribed and clicked the all notification bell. So this is an honor system, but don't put yourself in a compromise. Don't compromise your integrity for a t-shirt. Be honest, okay? It'll take you literally 10 seconds to go through and do this. We're going to do the giveaway, and then hang tight, everybody. We're going to be doing live Q&A at the end, all right? So we're going to be doing live Q&A right after this giveaway, okay? So I'm going to give one more minute for the giveaway, and then we got a bunch of people that have subscribed. By the way, guys, I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting really close. I think we've got about 49,200 subscribers, roughly. Okay, 49,200 subscribers, roughly. And we're trying to get to 50,000 before the end of the year. That was my goal early in the year. We're getting really, really close. 49,259 subscribers right now. So yeah, anything you can do to help, that'd be greatly appreciated. Plus, you can't lose. I put up new free trainings every single week, right? There's over 100 free trainings on there right now. I think there's actually 130 plus free trainings on there right now. And again, it's absolutely free. Okay. All right, cool. So here we go, guys. I'm going to randomly pick one person. It's very simple. I scroll through and I simply point my mouse at one person randomly. And the winner is, all right, Awa San. Awa San. Now, if you're in the United States, you can win the prize. Okay. You can win the shirt. Here's all you got to do, because I can't tell where you're from, but if you're in the United States, you're the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Congratulations. Here's all you got to do to collect the prize. Go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page, log into Facebook, search Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll see the page, and then like the page and then message me. Just message me your full name, your mailing address, the size you need, and that you won the YouTube t-shirt subscribe giveaway. The YouTube t-shirt subscribe giveaway. All right. So you got to go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. You need to like the page and then message me your full name, your mailing address, and your size. Okay. They're unisex sizing. And then make sure you let me know that you won the YouTube t-shirt subscribe giveaway, and we'll send that off. You'll get it within a week to 2 weeks. Appreciate everybody playing along. Thank you so much. All right, guys, listen, we're gonna get right into the Q&A. Thank you, everybody, for playing along. Truly appreciate it. Again, anything you can help, anything you do to help me get to that 50,000 goal before the end of the year is greatly appreciated. I know we just had a bunch of people that have subscribed. I think beforehand we had 49,000, maybe 150. Now we've got 49,000. Let's see, I'll give you an up-to-date number. 49,258. So yeah, so we've probably picked up almost 100 subscribers. So that's awesome. So listen, truly appreciate you guys helping. All right, good. Let's jump into, can I make you happy? Yeah, no, I don't sell any of the swag stuff, right? I don't sell hats and shirts and all that jazz, right? But listen, I appreciate the kind words. All right, listen, if you've got questions, hit me up in the comments right now. I'm going to try to do a first come, first serve. Here's one thing I can tell you for sure. I will not get to all the questions today. Usually I've got 50 plus, maybe 100 questions in one of these lives, and there's no way I can get to that, all right? But I will get to a bunch of them based on the time allotted. Hit me up in the comments with questions, and I will try to get to your question best I can. Let's see, Victor Ward. All right, so here's a question from Victor Ward. Where do you find rates other than load boards? Can you send me a direct link to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Freight Brokers? I couldn't find it on FBBC. Okay. All right, so where do you find the rates other than load boards? All right, so finding rates is not a one-step process. Now, what I mean by that is this. Some people believe that you can go to a rating tool like Truckstop and DAT and some of these other load boards have a rating tool, right? They have rating intelligence and a tool that will give you your rates. And that's a huge mistake if you rely exclusively on the rating tools that are built in to the load boards, all right? Because sometimes those rates are correct, but many times they're really high and sometimes they're even really low. Because what you have to understand is that they have a rear view mirror looking at the rates, and the rates 30 days ago in a specific lane can be very different than the rates today, depending upon the load to truck ratio, fuel prices, geography, seasonality, weather. There's all kinds of variables that can change the rate. So here's what you do. It's a 3-step process. Number one, go to your load board and look at the rating tools and get a baseline or an idea of where the rates are sitting based on that tool. Then what you want to do is you want to do one of two things or both. You can go to like a lane history, right? You can do a search of carriers that have posted their trucks in that lane over the last 30, 60, 90 days. The next thing you can do is you want to call those carriers. So for example, if you did a search for Buffalo to Atlanta flatbeds, if I did a search on the load board for lane history, I'm going to see that XYZ carriers posted their truck 30 times in the last 90 days. ABC carriers posted their truck 12 times in the last 30 days, so on and so forth. You're going to see how many times they've posted their truck in that lane. Now, if they've continually posted that truck, that means that they probably run that lane pretty regular. And that would be a good bet that you could call that carrier and try to negotiate a fair rate, right? Something that is based on supply and demand, that is a spot market, that's going to work for both you, the shipper, and the carrier. Okay. So that's step number 2. And then step number 3, you can also post that lane to a load board and start taking inbound calls from carriers that actually have trucks and need that today. So those are your 3 steps. Basically, you can't just rely on just the rating tools. I will tell you, the rating tools will be wrong very, very often. And if you do that, the problem is, here's, like I've said it before, if you do use just the rating tool, one of 2 things is going to happen the majority of the time. You're either going to be too high or you're going to be too low. Either one, you're screwed. If you're too high, you're never going to get a chance. And if you're too low, they're going to give you the freight and you're never going to cover it because you're not going to find a truck that's going to be willing to do it. You'd have to lose money to move the load. If you take my 3 steps, it's virtually guaranteed that if you follow that process, you're going to find what's called the sweet spot. That sweet spot is somewhere in the middle where you can find a truck, all right, that has a fair price. You can add your margin, and the shipper is still going to feel value for that price and for that service. Okay, so I hope that helps, Victor. As far as the 7 habits of highly effective freight brokers, I'm going to be honest with you. I had to take that down because the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Highly Successful People, that book by, I forgot his name, the author, he'd said that book forever. I kind of modeled that after. They got pissed at me for using it. So I had to actually take it down. But I do have a download that you can get. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. It's the How to Become a Freight Broker in 7 Simple Steps. That's what I use to replace it. So how to become a freight broker in 7 simple steps. All you got to do is go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com and you can get a copy of that. Once you get there, it'll pop up on the screen. It'll let you know how to download it. It's absolutely free. Okay. Thanks, Victor. Okay, so Miso says, I'm a college student studying supply chain management. I want to have a brokerage after graduation, maybe even become an agent. Now, any advice? Okay. Way too broad, okay, of a question. You're asking me for advice on should you start a freight brokerage or a freight agency being in college. I don't know. I don't know you. Okay. Please don't take it the wrong way, but this is why you be very specific on your questions and make it something that I can actually answer, right? Here's some generic advice for people that are curious or thinking about becoming a freight broker. Number 1, find somebody that's already done what you're looking to do and get mentored by them. Now, that mentorship could come in the form of an online course. It could come in the form of an internship. It could come in the form of like an on-the-job training. There's all kinds of ways to do that, right? You could go to some sort of a classroom setting where you do it. I'm a big believer in online training. That's why I put together freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can, excuse me, my nose is itching. You can get trained at your own pace. You have access to the course 24/7, 365. And it's very, very affordable. You can get started with Freight Broker Bootcamp for as little as $185 one-time investment, and you get instant access to everything, okay? So get trained. Once you get trained, find your niche. You got to identify your niche, right? It's the 7 steps, right? There are that 7 steps. I would that's what I would suggest you do. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/7, the number 7 steps. Download that. That would be my advice to you, whether you're in college, after college, you're working in a career, you're unemployed, you're a truck driver, you're working in a warehouse, whatever it is, that would be my advice. All right. Use those 7 steps as the foundation of going forward. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with you as a supply chain major wanting to open your own brokerage or logistics company. I think it's a good idea. Starting as an agent now, if you have the time and you can develop the skills necessary to do it, have at it. I think it gives you a little bit of a jump start. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so Fadil asks, the best source to gain knowledge in flatbed niche or any other niche. Okay, well, the best source, I'm going to give you kind of a three-step piece here. The best source of information to gain knowledge about any niche is this. One is to use Google, right? The obvious Google, the all-knowing, all-seeing Google, and do your research, as much research as you can, leveraging that from blogs, from YouTube channels, from online magazines, from trade journals, right? Use that. Use Google to find those resources. Find 3 or 4 or 5 credible resources and immerse yourself and read the information in there. Number 2, talk to people that are already working inside that industry. Talk to shippers that are working in that industry. Talk to carriers that are working in the flatbed niche. Talk to carriers. Start developing relationships with carriers. Start asking them questions. Start trying to help them. Start trying to build a mutually beneficial relationship. Okay. Number 3, the load boards are a great source of information. You can understand the load to truck ratio. You can start understanding rates. You can start understanding the dynamic of how brokers and carriers work together. You can start learning, a lot of things from the load boards, just being on the load boards and observing and watching and testing and searching and posting. And then the third thing is, of course, there's no replacement for just doing the work, right? For just getting out there and executing on your plan, right? Because here's the thing. I think, I don't know who said it, but Mike Tyson, maybe it was Mike Tyson, but he comes to mind, it's kind of like that boxing analogy, right? Everybody's got a good plan when they get in the ring until they get punched in the face, right? And that's boxing. So you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to mold. You're going to have to shift. You're going to have to pivot. And those are things you're going to have to learn to do. So that's a little bit of a framework that I would suggest on how to develop your niche for any niche. Malik asks you, how do I get the names of logistics managers? How do I get the information? Well, rarely is that information on the company website. Many times that information will be on LinkedIn. If you search company name and you search shipping manager, a lot of times you'll be able to find it there. But the best way to do it, the least time intensive and probably best source of that information is going to come from pay-to-play databases, meaning databases that specialize in providing that type of information, right? So there are databases where you have to pay a monthly or annual fee. A couple that come to mind are Hoovers, and the other one I think is ZoomInfo. Those are both not cheap, right? But the information is at your fingertips. So what you have to understand is that time is money. You've heard that before. If you have to spend 3 hours searching to try to find the names and phone numbers of 10 or 20 or 30 logistics managers, imagine what you could have done selling during that 3 hours if you just had the names in front of you, if you had already paid for access. So if you're in a rush and you really want all that information, you're going to have to pay for it. There's very few free databases that are going to give you all that information because it's very time consuming to put together and to manage and to maintain, right? So if you're a Freight Burger Bootcamp member, you get access to our shipper database. Now that does not include the logistics managers or shipping manager's name. It gives you the company name, the address, the industry, some sales data, stuff about their products, things of that nature. But it's not going to give you the logistics manager's name. If I did that, I'd have to charge you $10,000 a year in order for me to maintain that information, because I've got to constantly, those positions change all the time and we'd have to go in and do all that. So yeah, it would be a real pain to do that. But there are companies that do it, but they don't do it for free. So I would say Hoovers and ZoomInfo. There are probably other ones too, but just make sure they have some credibility, right? So I hope that helps. But worst case scenario, if you got to do it for free, go to LinkedIn. Okay, so Lado asks, having my DOT and MC active, will it make sense to start as an agent first, then get momentum going, get the experience along the way, and then switch to brokerage? Okay, well, Lado, I know you're a carrier right now and that you have your carrier authority and you're doing all that. I'm a little confused. If you already have your brokerage authority and that's already active, okay, then there's really no harm to you just starting your brokerage because you've already went through those steps. Now, if you don't feel confident or competent to do that, you could always kind of set the authority aside and become an agent for another company. Now, you'd have to work with another company that has their authority, has their license, has all the tools you need, and and you'd have to have a relationship and an independent contractor agreement with them. But you could do that. But I think, knowing you, I think that you're more than capable of doing that. But if you're not confident in that right now, I think the steps that you laid out make sense. I think starting as an agent is a great place to start in the industry. Again, agents typically get paid somewhere between 50 and 70% of the profit. So if you're charging the shipper $2,000 and you're paying the carrier $1,700 and there's $300 in gross profit and you're getting paid 50%, right, of $300, that means you made $150 profit on one load. You're not the broker. Or actually 150, you're getting 150. Yeah. So you're at 50%, you're making $150. You're not the broker, you're not the carrier, you're not the shipper, and you just made $150 on that load as an agent with no license. Okay. So yeah, starting as an agent is a great way to go if you need to take that step. And there's nothing wrong with that. The last year I had my brokerage, I think our average agent working from home made $107,000. Now that was a while ago. They're probably making more now. But I also had agents, my top agents, I paid them commissions in an individual month. The company paid them commissions of over $100,000 in commission paid to them in 1 month. All right. So agents can make a lot of money if they know what they're doing, if they find their niche, if they learn how to sell, if they develop those skills. Right. And so, yeah, being an agent can be highly profitable, but being a broker it can be highly profitable as well. It's just a few more hats you're wearing. And of course, you're not giving away commission on any of your own customers. So I hope that helps. Okay, here's a question from Mary Rickson DeRocher. How do you know when you have enough customers for a one-person agency? I want to be profitable, but I don't want to overdo it. And in the end, customers are neglected. I think it's a valid point. All right, so here it is. As a one-person agency, you are going to get your first shipper, and that first shipper is going to start giving you one load a week, one load a day, whatever the case may be. And you are going to understand the time and energy and resources it takes to manage that customer. Now, not every customer is the same. If a customer is giving you 5 loads a day or 1 load a week, the resources necessary are obviously different to effectively manage and service that customer. So I can't give you a number of customers. What you want to look at is you want to look at the number of loads. And so I would say that a one-person agency that has a little bit of experience, they don't need a ton of experience, they don't need decades of experience. Maybe they've been doing it for a few months or 6 months, and they understand how to post and find trucks on the load board. They understand how to negotiate. They understand how to rate it properly. They understand how to do those things. I think a one-person agency can easily cover and dispatch and manage 5 loads a day. I think 5 loads a day, depending upon the niche, depending upon the quality of the freight, I think you should be able to manage and cover 5 loads a day. If you're working 8 or 10 hours a day, that should be very, very doable. Some people and some freight, you could do a lot more. And some people and some freight, you might do significantly less. But on average, I think that a good agent should be able to manage 5 loads a day or more. And if you factor that out, if you're making $150 a load on 5 loads, right? I'm not very good at math, but that's $750 a day in profit. If as an agent, you're making $150 per load. All right. And that's assuming $300 a load, 50% commission. Those are just the basic numbers that I was using off the top of my head. Okay. All right, so mileage can vary, but yeah, I think that's very reasonable. I can't tell you how many customers, but think about it in terms of loads. And once you get to that cap, here's what you want to do then. Then you want to start hiring people that can handle the operation side. They can handle posting the loads, and they can handle calling carriers, and they can handle dispatching the trucks, and they can handle doing dispatch, which frees up your time to get more customers, which is the harder part of the gig, right? Getting customers is much harder than covering loads. Okay. Getting quality customers at real rates. Let me qualify that, right? Garbage customers are a dime a dozen. Good customers, you got to make sure that you don't waste your time with garbage, right? And so so you can train somebody to do the dispatch very, very easily versus trying to train somebody on the sales side of it. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Scrolling. Okay, so here's a question from Nalat. I just signed up for Freight Broker Bootcamp. I got a great deal of work, a great deal of how it works. Should I get my authority now or study more? That's on you. It depends upon your level of comfort, right? If you want to get started now, here's some of the key things you need to understand. Number one, getting your Freight Broker Authority is very easy, right? You fill out the application for the FMCSA, you file, you get your BOC3, you get your UCR, and you get your Freight Broker Bond. Check all those boxes, you get your Freight Broker Authority. There's no exam, there's no test, there's no certification, there's none of that. So it's very easy to get your Freight Broker Authority. The harder part is understanding your niche. The harder part is understanding how to rate things properly. And the even harder part is learning the skill of selling to bring on new customers, right? So if you think you're ready for all of those things, then I would say pull the trigger and head full steam ahead. If you're not, don't get in a rush. Okay. You don't need to be in a rush, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. That's my 2 cents. Good question, Richard. How will you know the carrier is giving you an accurate rate? Because their rate might be higher than the load is worth, what the shipper is willing to pay. It's one word: negotiate. You're 100% right. Richard, if I'm a broker and you're the carrier and I call you and I say, hey, Richard, I got a load from Buffalo to Atlanta. Listen, how much you need for that? You're going to, even if you normally take $2,000, just hypothetically for that lane, you're probably going to bump it up and say, $2,200, $2,300, $2,500, because you know that most brokers and most rates are negotiable and are almost always in negotiation. So you're going to start high, right? And as a broker, you want to start low. First of all, don't ever ask the carrier what they want. They want $5 a mile for every mile. That's what you want, but that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. You're going to get what the market will bear, right? You are going to get the byproduct of supply and demand. And so the reason why I told you first step is to try to figure out a little bit of a baseline using the rating tools is that you're going to be able to determine based on those rating tools, you're going to get a little bit of an idea of whether he's starting really high, if he's in line with the rates that you saw on the rating tool, or if he's below those. If he's really high, then you're going to have to start those rates down low. So my suggestion is, rather than asking them what their rate is, tell them the rate, but start out low, especially when you're trying to find the market. That's what I call finding the market. So if you're doing the Buffalo to Atlanta and it's Buffalo to Atlanta, and you do some research and the research is telling you it's a couple $1,000 to the truck for that lane, just a hypothetical. Okay. What you're going to probably want to do when you start talking to some of the carriers is you're probably going to want to start that out and say 1,500. Believe it or not, the way you're going to determine whether your rate is too low is if people hang up on you. And I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. If you call a carrier, you tell them 1,500 and they hang up on you, you're too low. The next call, go to 1,600. Go to 1,700, right? So you're going to find the market. Now, here's the cool thing. Once you learn the basic market of how much it costs for a truck from Buffalo to Atlanta, it's not going to go up by 30 or 50% in a week. It might go up or down by 5 or 10%, depending upon supply and demand, but it's not going to go up or down. So once you find the market, it's easy to kind of manage and understand where that market is. But the first time you're trying to understand rates based on equipment and lanes, you have to understand you got to start low. This is a negotiation. This is part of business. If you're not comfortable with negotiating, you're going to struggle to make profit in brokerage, or you're going to be one of those guys or gals that makes $50 a load and can't go anywhere and they're just spinning their wheels, right? You know, that's not fun. That's not running a highly profitable brokerage. You should be able to make, as a broker, 15 to 20% profit margins if you're doing this properly, but you can't overpay for the lane. You can't underpay for the lane. You can't overcharge for the lane, and you can't undercharge for the lane. So that's where that sweet spot comes in. So good question. Thanks, Richard. I appreciate you asking. All right. So Serge asks, could you touch on the topic of recovering a load? All right. So this happens from time to time. Shipper gives you a load. You then find a carrier to move that load. You sign a rate confirmation. Everything's good. The load's going to pick up tomorrow. Everything looks good. The next morning you come in, the carrier calls you and says, oh, Dennis, I couldn't get it unloaded at my last stop. We're not going to be able to pick up your load. Your first thought is, oh shit, what do I do now? All right, well, legit. I get it. It happens. It's not the carrier's fault. They weren't able to get unloaded. So you can't yell at them. It's not the shipper's fault because that's your job. So what do? You turn it into overdrive. You repost the load. You start calling carriers. You do your absolute best. Now, if it's going to pick up at 11 a.m. and it's 10 o'clock and you're finding this out, you're probably going to want to let the shipper know right away. But if it's 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. and it doesn't pick up to 11 or 12, you've got some time in there where you can try to recover that load before you notify the shipper and put the alarms up, right? Because, of course, once you tell them that it's not covered or that you've fallen off the load, they're going to start putting it out to other brokers and carriers to cover that load. So in an ideal situation, you're never going to tell that carrier and you're never going to tell that shipper if you're able to recover it quickly. This happens all the time behind the scenes. But the last thing you want to do is get to your load time and then not give the shipper enough time to try to recover it themselves. So it's a balancing act. The reality is, that's when you got to, pull up the sleeves, pick up the phone, and start hammering the phone to recover that load. There is no magic ingredients for recovering a load. You're going to do the same thing you did the first time. You're just going to do it. You're going to do more of it, and you're going to do it faster with a higher level of intensity. And that means that you have to give away all the profit on that load, okay? Or possibly even lose a little bit of money to make sure that your customer is serviced. Well, that's your problem. Do it. Because the lifetime value of that shipper is far more than the profit on any individual load. Okay? Hope that helps. Michael 46 asks a good question. What are your thoughts on partial loads? I love partial loads. Here's why I love partial loads. Number one, most brokers don't want to deal with them. So there's less competition. Number two, they're higher margin than full truckload and LTL. Okay? Because it's an underserved market. Now, those are the pros. The cons are they're hard to identify who the shipper is. Shippers don't publish. There's no directory of shippers that say, we move partial loads. Okay? Most freight is either a full truckload or an LTL, but there are a lot of partials in the middle. Those partials can be highly profitable, but number one, identifying who the shippers are can be challenging. Number two, understanding the rating can be challenging because it's not the same as full truckload and it's not the same as LTL. It's slightly different, right? You're paying for a percentage of that truck. So, it's not a 1+1 = 2 type of rating equation. You have to do a little bit of magic in there in order to make that work. But I love partials. They were the highest profit margin of any of the loads that we moved in our brokerage after, during my career of doing over $200 million as a freight broker. Hope that helps. Serge has a question. Do you recommend completing the Freight Broker Bootcamp course before taking the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program? Well, in a perfect world, you would already have that fundamental, that basis in place, right, of taking the course. But if you've already got some experience, right, or you've already got your authority, or you're already an agent, then I would say, you don't need to take that course beforehand. But if you're brand new to the industry, it's probably not a bad idea to start with Freight Broker Bootcamp, at least the gold membership, right, which is $185 one time for a whole year's access, and then go through that real quick. And then you can also enroll in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Now, the good thing about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is it's sold out right now. You can't enroll right now anyway, right? It's totally sold out. It won't be available till sometime in Q1. It's probably not going to be January, maybe February or March is when I'll open it back up for enrollment, because I have to limit the number of people that are in that program. I only allow 100 people in that program at a time, because it is a coaching, it's a hybrid. It's a coaching program and an online course combined. So it's a 5-week coaching program. So it takes a lot of resources and time on my end. And I can't have 500 or 1,000 people in there at once, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So I hope that helps. Malik, I don't know. Is this a trick question? How would one build a book of business as an agent working under a broker? The same way you would as a broker. Find your niche, contact the shippers, move the freight. They're now your customer. I mean, I'm not trying to be cheeky or a smart ass, but, building a book of business as a freight broker or building a book of business as a freight agent is the same. I'm building the book part, right? The only difference is a broker has a license and an agent works under the licensed broker. So there's really no difference in building your book of business. It really comes down to sales and outreach and learning how to get customers and start a dialogue, find, connect, and engage with shippers in your niche, right? That's that sales skill that I spend so much time helping you guys develop. It's part of what we talked about today with the whole, are you afraid of cold calling, right? So yeah, the process isn't that much different. Now, as an agent, you have a book of business. You may choose to transition that into your own brokerage someday, or you may choose to transition to another brokerage and become an agent for them, or you might stay with your current company. That's completely up to you. You just want to make sure you don't sign a contract that prevents you from doing that. All right? So maybe that was part of your question. Okay, so here's a question from SAA, and that is, how long does an agent get to keep commissions on a shipper they bring in? Okay, so as a freight agent, you get commissions. You should be getting commissions for the lifetime of that customer, because you as the agent are going to not only be selling that customer, you're going to be servicing that customer. So you're going to be operating as an agent. You're not just a sales agent. You are a freight broker agent. So you are actually selling and brokering and moving those loads yourself. That's why you get such a high commission of 50 to 70%. Now, if you were just operating as a salesperson where you get the customer and then you hand that off to them, it's going to be a much lower commission, and there probably could be a time frame where they may eliminate those commissions or reduce those commissions. But that's not what I teach. I teach you to either become a freight broker or a freight agent. As a freight agent, you will get commission for the lifetime of that account. Right? That's how your contract should read. Okay, so Fat Mike, if the surety bond is $3,000 a year, that seems like a pretty reasonable expense. Much better than leveraging 70K in collateral. Yeah, for sure. Get the freight broker bond. For sure. You do not want to try to get a trust. I mean, a trust is where you have assets in the trust that are collateralized for that amount. There are some companies that offer trusts where you don't have to have all that money up front, but they are still a little more expensive than a surety bond. So yeah, so a surety bond is the way to go. I mean, some people get surety bonds. If you've got good credit, I've seen surety bonds as low as $1,000 a year. If you have really bad credit, I've seen them 10,000 a year, right? And if you have really, really bad credit, they might not even underwrite you. You might have to get a trust, right? So yeah, I think on average, I find most people are paying somewhere in the $2 to $3 to $4 grand, because most people have probably a 600 credit score versus a 750 or 800 credit score. If you got really good credit, you'll get a really, really good bond price, because it really is heavily focused on your personal credit. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the training. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most of all, share the stream. Click the share button and let me know. Share it with a few friends. Just text it to them, or share it on Instagram, or share it on Facebook, or wherever you want to share it. Please share the stream. Let me know. Truly appreciate you guys being here. If you're on the fence about wanting to become a freight broker or a freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. I offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. There's zero way you can lose. You cannot lose. If you want to kick the tires for 60 days, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com, sign up as a gold member or a platinum member, which is lifetime membership, and I will guarantee it for 60 days if you're unhappy for any reason. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. Come back next week for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Truly appreciate you guys being here. Hope you guys got some value, and we'll talk to you soon.